Hello everyone, how are you doing today? I feel like I don't ask that question enough. Today's video is going to be about photography, and it's something I'm very passionate about. So I absolutely love taking photos. I've travelled the world as far as my bank balance will allow. And it's become an intrinsic part of my life, at the detriment of everyone else, because every 5 minutes we have to stop so I can take a bloody picture. I took this picture years ago. I remember the camera I used, I remember where I was standing, and I remember what the weather was like that specific day. But if I hadn't taken it, I probably wouldn't have remembered any of that. So recently, I decided to print my own photography. Because if you've got a hard drive absolutely stocked full of photos you've taken over the years, you might as well slap them on your wall. Photography is surprisingly underappreciated, despite the fact that we pretty much see it all over the place. So in this video, as I usually do, I wanted to ask a question. Is it worth getting absolutely obsessed with photography? The places I go to film stuff. It is beautiful. Now, taking photos can be approached in different ways. You can pull out your phone, snap a little shot, capture the moment, and that seems to be the middle ground in terms of what people stick to. It's easy, it's quick, it does the job. You may or may not look back at those pictures in a few weeks, months, years, aeons, but the deeper you fall into the photography rabbit hole, you start to understand what is required to get a really good picture. Now, not to toot my own horn or anything, but I really do like this picture. I wouldn't put it on my wall if I didn't. So it's time for another. This was taken in a place in Norway which I'm really gonna struggle to say. It's just above Oslo, and it's a place called Frognerseteren. We were climbing to the top of this mountain and we didn't realise it was a huge ski resort, so people were skiing past us now and again. It was so cool. It was cold, it was tough to get to the top, but it was so worth it. What's special about this day is we didn't know what we were approaching. We did very little research, we just let the day take us where it did. It was stunning, and all the footage you're seeing is footage I took on the way there. I just love documenting stuff like that. It's really helpful. If I didn't take this photo, I'm not entirely sure I would have remembered the feeling the place gave me. This feeling of mystery and excitement as we delved into the Norwegian forest, and it's why I framed it in the way I did. So that's one of the key things. It's about capturing this feeling, right? When you go somewhere, you want to remember not just how it looked, but how it felt. It's worth thinking about composition when it comes to these things, and that is just a fancy word for saying how you point the camera in accordance with everything going on in the frame. When you think about composition, you start to think about lighting, you think about colour and atmosphere, and the components start piling up, and it's understandable as to why people opt for their phone or a point and shoot as opposed to a ridiculously expensive camera. But it is an expense many people do take, especially if you love taking photos and you want to develop your craft as a photographer. I've gone on record saying that money doesn't matter when it comes to equipment and creating gorgeous images. I've since revoked that because I think money does matter quite a bit. Now, this isn't to say that a better camera will equal better pictures, because ultimately you need to learn how to take photos before investing in a good camera, and then when you do, you're typically going to get better photos from that because you've learnt the craft first. But it's also a personal preference, it depends what the photos are going to be used for, and it's also a stylistic choice too. Some people like using retro camcorders, for example, to give a vintage feel, and that's great. There's a lot of components, but I think I'm going too far into the technicals, so I'll bring it back and present a third picture. I took this one in Italy, in a place called Sorrento, which is one of my favourite cities in the world. Great atmosphere, amazing limoncello, not too far away from Pompeii either, which is cool. Here's some pictures from my Instagram. Luckily Vesuvius didn't explode when I stood right next to it, so that was alright. I took this shot in an attempt to win a photography competition, but of course, I lost. I spent weeks and weeks and weeks crying myself to sleep in my pillow, wondering where it all went wrong, debating to quit photography altogether. Anyway, I decided to take a step back and print the photo anyways. The reason I'm showing this one is because if you still fail to achieve what you want, it's never really a waste of time because you've learned something from it. In this case, when it's regarding photography, you're left with the picture still. It's a reminder that it's not always about winning, it's about what you did to get there, is what I tell myself. Genuinely, it was an amazing experience being in southern Italy and taking in the culture, and that's what I remember about it. The competition, whether it becomes an afterthought. It's about repeatedly exposing yourself to things and constantly putting yourself out there, and that teaches you how to see. And you'll find your work deepens from that, as opposed to any technical skills you might have. Photographers, artists, nobody should be deterred by failure. They shouldn't think about anything other than enjoying the experience and being in a constant state of learning. If you can do that, then you're opening the door to a world of photography, and at that point you're studying other people, other artists. Only to find out that it's incredibly difficult to replicate anyone else's ability, and so you change style 100 different times. You fail constantly until you progressively get more competent. I was gonna say it's taken me over 20 years to get competent at photography, but then I've decided I'm not really competent at all, and that's kind of the fun of it. It's not about the destination, but the journey, and the cocktails you drank doing it. The last picture I'll show is one hung up in my toilet. Or like, on the wall, not actually in the toilet. This is a picture I took of some seals. At least I'm pretty sure they're seals, and not sea lions. I'm not a marine biologist. Luckily enough, I also have the footage of the day I took these. There seems to be a theme here of the importance of documentation, and in truth, I think that's my answer to whether or not it's worth falling in love with photography. Yes, I am clearly biased, but I would say it's absolutely worth it. This picture pulls me back to a different time, a different state of thinking, I guess, and I can see this picture and appreciate that. It's also just quite a funny picture. It's very passionate. Photography is something I'll always tell people they should do. Whether or not they want to fall down the rabbit hole of expenses and self-study, that's totally up to them. But taking a really good picture and seeing that picture years down the line and getting transported back to that place, that's what it's all about. And photography does take you to some weird places. I mean, I've done photography, videography, and I've seen things in my life I never thought I would see, but I'm quite glad I saw them and got exposed to different cultures and worlds. There really is a story to be found in every single shot. It's incredibly fun, so from me, please take more photos. Hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel if you did enjoy, as I make a lot of creative and strange stuff like this, exploring different questions and, I don't know, seeing the world. Take care.